Okay, good afternoon all. I am Mahesh and today I'm going to show you a very important feature from the Selenium WebDriver 4, that is a relative locators. Now when we talked about the relative locators, so if you know in the WebDriver 3 we don't have any of the things like the relative locators. Now previously this relative locators called as your friendly locators, that means the nearby. The locators are nearby to another locator. Now, there are a lot of challenges in Selenium. Sometimes you are able to identify one element, but the another element is not visible or it is not available due to some technology stacks, due to some of the implementation, whatever it is. Now, similar way, these relative locators in Selenium WebDriver 4, there are the additional some of the methods had been written and which can be called to identify the elements with the help of any of the friendly locators, that means any of the relative locators. Now, Selenium, as you all know, Selenium is based on top of JavaScript. So there is a function, JavaScript function, that is get bounding client rectangle. That means it will get the complete rectangular area of any of the web element. Mm. Now, to identify those, you will just finding the position of any elements on the web page, and you can use this information to locate any of the neighboring elements, okay, or we can say a relative elements. So I'll take some of the examples and then I'll go back and explain you one by one. Okay. So now let's take an example. I have this knowledgeware.in final.html. Now I have this site where I need to enter some of the password. I need to enter some of the username. I need to enter confirm password. Now, only thing that we can understand is, let's say password, anyhow, I am able to identify this password. So I'm simply going back here. I am identifying this password, okay, with the help of its locator. Let's see. So let me close this. Okay. So let's say password is what name equals password. Okay. Now, by any reason, we are not able to identify this input tag. That means a text box above that, that is username. Now I wanted to use a relative locators to identify this username. Okay. That means I am going to use a relative implementation to identify username with the help of neighboring element, that is password, which is we are able to identify. Okay. So let's go back on the string here. I'm going to create a new project. Okay. So let's create a Java project directly. Okay. I say relative locators, relative locators project. Okay. I'll share this code base if you want later on. Okay. Okay. Now, in the relative locators, I'm going to add my libraries. Those are Selenium libraries. I can do the same things within the WebDriver Manager package also, but let's go and do this from the Selenium itself. Okay. So I don't want to do in WebDriver Manager. I wanted to show you the simplest implementation, which normally you guys are doing it. So now you have added all your Selenium jars. Okay. Now you have the reference libraries for Selenium added. You have the driver also, which is I just downloaded in a 2 minutes back. That is Chrome driver, the latest driver for my updated Chrome version. Okay. So I'm just going back here and I'm creating a new package. I said relative locator package. Let's finish this. I'm going to create a new class, a Java class with public static void main as an entry. I am not creating any test ng class. Okay. So at least we can see a basic implementation with the main method. So you guys can understand. Relative locator Selenium WebDriver. Okay. Let's go and create this. Okay. So I have my class available with me. Now, the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to open up a simply Chrome version, the latest Chrome version, what I do have on my machine. So I'm going to write my system.set property. System.set property. Okay. And I can get here your WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver. So I just updated the Chrome version. That's why I'm just taking the Chrome driver as my driver. And I wanted to give here the path of the driver that I have downloaded. So let me see where it is. So I have downloaded in this path. Let me copy this path. Let me put it here. So what I can do, I can give the single forward slash so that no need to have multiple slashes. And I said home driver dot delete. So the basic system.set property I did. Now I wanted to open my driver. So WebDriver driver equals new Chrome driver. Okay. So I have been opening this, and now I'm going to write my driver dot get, the URL that I want to be open. So let's take an example, this URL. Okay. So first let me try if this code works or not. It should open your Chrome driver. Okay. With the URL that we have mentioned. Okay, perfect. So let's make it some bigger. Driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. Okay, I'm just doing the maximize of the screen. Now the first thing that I'm going to show you the above implementation with relative relative element. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to show you the above implementation. That means we have the password, but I want to identify the username. Okay, so with the help of password, we are going to identify the username. So let's go and first identify the password. So how do I identify the password? I say driver dot find element by dot name, and there was some name. I think it was password, but let me confirm one more time. Yes, it is password. Okay. So password, and I'm assigning this to one of the web element, that is your password. So now I got a password as a web element. Now with the help of password, I'm going to identify the relative element, that is your username. So to do this, I wanted to use a multiple things. So one thing is there is a with and there is a relative. There are two things, okay? The one is relative locator, which is an implementation, a class within the uh, same, or I can say it's a class available within Selenium WebDriver 4, okay? And another one is the with, which is a static implementation within the relative locator itself, okay? So what we'll do, we can identify with the help of relative locator first, and then we'll do the operation. Okay, and then we'll see the another implementation with the help of with. So I'll write here element using relative locator. Okay. So let's go back and now see how do I writing the code first. So what I said I want a relative locator. I want a relative locator. So this is what I want, relative locator class dot with relative locator with. Here the first thing what you need is, it says what you wanted to identify. I say I wanted to identify by tag name the input as a tag. Input as a tag I wanted to identify, I said. But where? But where you wanted to identify? So I say above. Above. I wanted to identify this above any of the element. You can say that is your password, okay? Or you can mention directly by dot name your password. That is also possible. You can do like this and see what we did here. I said I wanted to identify relative locator input tag above the password. I wanted to identify the input tag above the password. So what is this returning? If you saw, this is returning you a byte. So I said, let's save into a username. Okay. So I save this into a username. And now what I'm going to do, I said driver dot find element username directly. Okay, because you identify that username now using an above. And then you can say send keys. What is the username you wanted to send? Let's say I wanted to send Mahesh here. Okay. And let's save this program. So I have identified using an above, using this relative locator class. Okay. You are able to identify the username and then you are sending the Mahesh. Let's run this program one more time. Okay. And let's see if it enters Mahesh or not. Look at here. You identify a password with the help of that. Above that, you have an input tag. That above input tag, you have entered Mahesh here. Okay. Now, similar way, can we do the same operation for password on the below with confirm password? Let's try that. Okay. So we'll try the same with the confirm password also. So now what I'll do here, I'll simply keep, now I'll show you the below implementation. Okay. Below implementation with the relative element, but this time using with, this time using directly with. Okay. So how that with is imported. So I'll simply copy this. It's a static import. So I'm directly writing here import static and I'll say dot with. Okay. So I'm importing this static with here. So no need to have or no need of this relative locator now. Okay. If you import directly a you did a static import directly, then no need to have the class name. Let's see. I'll show you how. Now see what I'm going to write. Okay. Now this time, this driver.find element we had written, right? Driver.find element, and then you pass this by here, and then you are entering some send keys. Now directly in the driver.find element, you can write this with. That is also possible. Okay. Now directly you can write this code from the with itself. Okay. Let's identify. Let's write. So I am writing now here. I am writing now here. Driver dot find element. Okay, look what I'm going to write. Look what I'm going to write. I said with because with is imported now. Okay, it's a static implementation. You just imported it. So I say by dot tag name. What was the tag name you wanted to identify? I said I wanted to identify input as a tag. Okay, I wanted to identify input as a tag. Where you wanted to identify that input as a tag, it says. So I said I wanted to identify that input tag. Below the, you can say below the password, still it works. Okay. So you can get here below the password. Still that should work. Okay. So I said below my password. I said below the password, I wanted to identify that. And you simply said this. You simply said this. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think there is one is missing. Now this is returning a web element directly. So I said web element confirm password. This is what I'll write down here. And I'll say this confirm pass dot send keys now. And I wanted to send, let's say my password is knowledge. Okay. So this should enter the knowledge where on the below this password field. Any of the input tag is there below this password, it should enter the knowledge where. So if we can go back here and we see below the password, we should have a confirm password. Let's try and run this code. We wanted to see this output, all right? So I'm running this code one more time and we'll see the output. Let's see. Yes, see, it enters the knowledge where here in the bottom of this password. That means we saw above, so it identify and enter Mahesh. We saw below, it identify and enter your knowledge where on the confirm password. Now we have the left and right both. Okay. So let's say there are two elements, login and submit. To the left of the login is submit, and to the right of submit, we have the login. Okay. So let's do first a left of this submit. Okay. Let's go back and I'll use here a left implementation with relative element. So I'm going to do, I'm just copying now this code. I'll not take much more time for you guys to do this. So simply what I need to do is, so I wanted to identify first that link text. The link, right? I hope so. It's a link. Let me see what it is. So I wanted to show you the left. Yes, it's a link. So on the left link, I wanted to identify this submit. So what is the tag of this submit? So it's input. Okay. So let's say I wanted to identify a link text login. So definitely this T should be capital. Okay. Now I wanted to identify the left. I'll simply change here the left. Okay. I'll simply change here the left of. Okay. So I wanted to identify the left of this element. Got my point? I wanted to identify the left of your login. So where I can simply get the element that is login, okay? And then the left of that is your input. So let's make this to the left of. I'll just delete this. I hope so. Yes. And input. Here I'll write submit button. Okay. And directly you can write here driver dot submit find element by submit button dot click. You can simply say click and see if that works or not. So let me enter this and it should click on submit because we are identifying, yes, see, it's submitted. It submitted the data that you have entered. So name you have entered Mahesh, password is blank, and confirm password you have entered knowledgeware. And what you did, the another action that you did is submitted or inserting this data or record into the database. So you click on this submit now. Now using left off, using to the left off, you identify this. Now let's try with the right off. Now let's try with this right off, the right implementation with relative element. So what is right? I know the right is the right of locator by name. What is the name of that? Submit. Okay, let me close this. What is the submit name is insert. Okay, so this is what insert. Let me write down here. I'll not take much time. And what you wanted to identify, you wanted to identify the tag A. Okay, so you wanted to identify tag A to the right of your submit button. You wanted to identify tag A. Let's see, and you say here login button, and simply you pass it here that login and click login button. Okay, so it should click and it should go to the next page. If I click on this login, look at here. It should go to this next page, registration page. Okay, a similar way, let's see what it does. I'm just saving this code and I'm running this. So yes, see, it did submit also and it did a click also. So it did both of these two implementation. Okay, it did both of these two implementation. So that means we saw four methods as on now. So we saw above, we saw below, we saw left, we saw right. Now I'm going to show you the another one. So let me write down this. Uh, we can take this one relative itself, okay? So so that you will figure it out. Okay, so how many are near to this element, any of the input tag near to this element? We wanted to identify this, okay? Let's say I'm finding again a password. With the help of password, I wanted to identify how many elements are near to this password element. How many input tags are there? This is what I wanted to identify. I said near to password there should be a two. Let's go back. Let's go back and see. Near to password, there are two. One is username, another one is confirm password. So we wanted to be get two. So let's say I'm saying here multi-element. So I got this multi-elements. Now what I need to do is I simply say driver dot find element. I say multi-element. Okay. And I said it should return me the list. It should return me the list. So let's take an example, list of web element. Whether it returns one, whether it returns multiple, I see. Multi, sorry, multiple element. Okay. I just wanted to see how many elements it will return. So this is what I wanted to do, find elements. Okay. Now I simply said sysout how many elements it is returning. We just wanted to see that. I don't want to do any action on this. Okay. So I say multiple element dot size. Let's see, it should return me 2. I just wanted to see whether it returns me true or not. Okay, but before that, we don't want to go to the next page. So let me comment this, submit and click. Otherwise, we'll go to the next page. It will not identify. Let me run this code. Okay, so it's executed, enters, and we wanted to see the output. Oh, it returns me 1. So it should return me 2, definitely. So above, oh, come on, guys. I just forgot to change it to near. So I said near. So now let's see how much it returns. Okay. So I forgot to change it because I copy the code from above. See, now it should return me 2. Yes. So it is returning me 2. When you use a near, you are identifying a multiple elements. Okay. So above is any element above that, below any element below that. To left is any of the element which is not able to identify. To the left of any of element, you can use to left of. If you are not able to identify any element on the right hand side, you can use the to right of. If you wanted to identify the number of elements nearby to any of the elements, you can identify with this. Now, can we use multiple of this nearby and to right, to left to identify the elements? Yes, we can use a chaining also. That is called, we can use a chaining. So I can say relative locators, chain to identify elements. Let's see. I wanted to show you the relative locators chain to identify elements. So how do I do it? How do I do it? So see, first I will use, this time we'll use the another locator. Otherwise we are using the same locator. Let's try this time another one. So I'll use this confirm password this time. Let me see. What is the value? Okay. So we have the value confirm password here. Okay. So now this time what we are going to write the code is again a relative locator dot with. And this time, what I wanted to identify, I'll write it down very clearly. I wanted to identify using relative locator. I wanted to identify using confirm password. I wanted to identify the login as a button. Okay. So I wanted to identify login as a button. So I said by dot tag name. What I wanted to identify, I said I wanted to identify tag A. With the help of what? So you can say it is below. it is below to the confirm password. Okay. It is below to the confirm password. Okay. And now, once I say, okay, confirm this. It is below to the confirm password and it is to the right of your submit button. To right of, let me try take this on the bottom. Okay. I think so. You can say this in better. And to the right of, I say by dot name, and I said we were writing something here. What was that by the name? It is insert, right? Okay, so I'll just copy this and I say insert. It is the right of insert and below the confirm password. So I wanted to identify that locator. What was the name of that locator? So I said a login button. Okay. I said it is a login button. So if you want, you can take this in this way so that you will remember this code. And then you simply say login button dot click. Oh, sorry. So you need to write driver dot find element login button dot click. Let's see, it should click because login button click I have just commented. Now it should click on login button and we should go on to the next page. Let me write down, let me execute this code. So there are multiple methods I have used. Yes, look at here. So it clicks on the login button with the help of confirm password. If you can go back here with the help of, I said below of the confirm password, that means here, and the right of the submit. So you will get this, which is an A tag. You said I wanted to identify the tag A, which is a link, and you just simply click on it. So this is how, guys, we can use the relative locator within the Selenium WebDriver 4. I hope you enjoyed this session. Okay. I want everyone, you can try this. Definitely, this is very important session, and you can try this with the help of Selenium WebDriver 4. And these are some of the questions also people may ask you in interview. These are the additional advantage of Selenium WebDriver 4, which is given in the latest build. Okay. So have a good day, and we'll meet again in the next session with the new concept. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Take care.